One day, you wake up and realize you're tired. Not tired of work, tired of trying to keep up with everyone else. If you've ever felt like you're running out of time, like life is quietly passing you by while everyone else seems to be moving faster, then please know this story is for you. I remember a time when I truly believed life was a race to earn more, to stay relevant, to prove to myself and to others that I was still moving forward. Everywhere I looked, someone seemed to be doing better. Younger people climbing faster, friends retiring earlier, others reinventing themselves, starting new chapters, posting bright smiles and big milestones. And there I was, standing still, wondering when exactly I had fallen behind. Without fully realizing it, I started running again, not because I wanted to, but because I was afraid. Afraid that slowing down meant failing, afraid that resting meant giving up, afraid that if I stopped, I'd be left behind in a world that never waits. Maybe you felt that too. There was a time when my calendar was full, my phone never stopped buzzing, and my mind rarely rested. I told myself I was being responsible, productive, ambitious. But beneath all that motion, there was a quiet exhaustion I didn't want to face. I was tired in a way sleep couldn't fix, tired of proving, tired of chasing, tired of feeling like who I was right now wasn't enough. One evening, after another long day that felt strangely empty, I sat alone in my living room. No television, no phone, just the soft hum of the house and the fading light outside the window. For the first time in a long while, I didn't distract myself. And in that stillness, a question surfaced, gentle but honest. What am I actually running toward? That question stayed with me. I began to notice how much of my life was driven by comparison, not intentional, just constant. Measuring my pace against others, measuring my worth against timelines that weren't even mine. Somewhere along the way, I had confused movement with meaning. I thought staying busy meant staying alive, but deep down, I felt disconnected from myself. So I tried something unfamiliar. I slowed down. Not all at once, just in small, quiet ways. I stopped filling every moment. I took walks without headphones. I sat with my morning coffee instead of rushing through it. I let silence stay a little longer. At first, it felt uncomfortable, even wrong, but slowly something shifted. I realized that peace doesn't arrive when life becomes perfect. It arrives when we stop fighting where we are. I stopped asking, am I ahead or behind, and started asking, am I present? Life, I learned, is not a straight line. It's a collection of seasons. There are times to build and times to rest, times to grow outward and times to grow inward. And no season lasts forever, not the busy ones and not the quiet ones either. Here's what I wish someone had told me earlier. You don't need to keep up with anyone. You don't need to reinvent yourself to be worthy. You don't need to prove that you're still valuable by exhausting yourself. There is a deep wisdom that comes with age, if we let it. We begin to understand that fulfillment isn't found in speed, but in alignment. Not in having more, but in needing less. Not in racing toward the next thing, but in being fully present with what's already here. If you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond and feeling tired of the chase, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are becoming. And becoming takes time, patience, and compassion for yourself. Let yourself rest when you're tired. Let yourself pause without guilt. Let yourself choose a slower, softer way of living. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that the moments that mattered most were never the loud victories or the rushed achievements. They were the quiet mornings, the honest conversations, the times you allowed yourself to breathe. Life was never meant to be a race. It was meant to be lived, slowly, deeply, and in your own time. One quiet afternoon, I sat alone with a cup of tea. No phone, no noise, no plans waiting for me. Just the gentle steam rising from the cup and the late afternoon light resting on the walls. And for the first time in years, I asked myself an honest question, one I had been avoiding for far too long. Who am I actually trying to keep up with? That question changed everything. Because the truth is, most of the pressure we carry isn't real. It's borrowed. Borrowed from expectations we absorbed without questioning. Borrowed from a younger version of ourselves who believed life had to look a certain way by a certain age. Borrowed from a world that never stopped to ask if we were okay with the pace. I spent decades believing that staying busy meant staying relevant, that if I slowed down, I'd disappear. I chased goals that once made sense, promotions, milestones, accomplishments, but somewhere along the way, they stopped feeling like mine. Still, I kept running, not because I was inspired, but because I was afraid. Afraid of being left behind, afraid of becoming invisible, afraid of admitting that I was tired. Maybe you know that feeling. I watched younger people move faster, adapt quicker, reinvent themselves with ease. I saw friends retire early, others start over boldly, while I felt stuck in between, too old to rush blindly, too young to give up completely. And in that space, comparison quietly took over. It didn't shout, it whispered. It told me I should be doing more, becoming more, proving more. But that afternoon with the tea, something softened. The silence didn't demand anything from me. It didn't ask for productivity or answers. It simply allowed me to exist. And in that stillness, I realized how long it had been since I had checked in with myself, not as a worker, not as a provider, not as a role, but as a human being. I began to understand that the life I was trying to keep up with no longer fit who I was becoming. We change as we age. Our values shift, our bodies speak more clearly, our hearts ask for honesty instead of applause. Yet so many of us keep living by outdated expectations, chasing a version of success that belonged to a different chapter. Here's what I wish someone had told me earlier. You are allowed to outgrow the life you once wanted. You are allowed to choose peace over proving. You are allowed to slow down without explaining yourself. When I stopped measuring my life against other people's timelines, something remarkable happened. I started listening, really listening to what I needed. More quiet mornings, fewer commitments that drained me, deeper conversations instead of louder achievements, space to breathe, to think, to simply be. Peace didn't arrive all at once. It came gently in small decisions, saying no without guilt, letting a day be unproductive without calling it wasted, accepting that rest is not a weakness. It's a form of wisdom earned through experience. If you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond, and you feel tired in a way that goes deeper than your body, I want you to hear this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're waking up. You've lived long enough to know that life is fragile, that time is precious, that chasing everything often leaves us with nothing that truly matters. And maybe now, right now, is the moment to ask yourself that same quiet question I did. Who are you trying to keep up with? Because the answer might free you. The pressure you feel doesn't have to come with you into this next chapter. You can set it down. You can choose a softer pace. you can build a life that feels honest, even if it looks simpler from the outside. In the end, peace isn't found by running faster. It's found by coming home to yourself and realizing you were never meant to live anyone else's life but your own. No one really tells you this as you get older. We grow up believing that life rewards speed, that staying busy means staying relevant, that slowing down is something you earn only after everything else is finished. So we keep pushing, even when our bodies ask for rest, even when our hearts quietly ask for something softer. For most of my life, I believed I had to keep up with work, with expectations, with people younger than me who seemed to have endless energy. I watched friends reinvent themselves, chase new titles, new goals, new versions of success. And even when I was tired, especially when I was tired, I kept moving because I was afraid that if I slowed down, life would pass me by. But here's the truth no one tells you. There comes a time when speed stops adding meaning and starts taking it away. I remember the moment I realized this. It wasn't dramatic, no big breakdown, just an ordinary evening. I had finished another long day, sat down at the kitchen table, and felt empty. Not sad, just hollow. I had done everything right, stayed productive, stayed busy, stayed on track, and yet I felt strangely disconnected from my own life. That's when it hit me. I wasn't living my days, I was managing them. So I began to change quietly. I didn't announce it. I didn't make a big plan. I just started choosing differently. I stopped rushing through mornings. I allowed myself to say no without explaining. I spent time doing things that didn't lead anywhere, walking, sitting, listening, breathing. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost irresponsible. We've been conditioned to believe that rest must be earned, that stillness must be justified. But the more I slowed down, the clearer everything became. I started noticing things again, the way light moves across a room, the comfort of familiar routines, the peace that comes from not needing to impress anyone. And I realized something important. Life doesn't get smaller when you slow down, it gets clearer. You begin to see what truly matters, not what looks good on the outside, but what feels right on the inside. You stop chasing more and start appreciating enough. Enough time, enough comfort, enough meaning. Here's what I want to say to you if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond and feeling worn down by the pace of the world. You don't need to keep up anymore. You've already lived enough to slow down. You've carried responsibilities, you've shown up, you've learned hard lessons, you've survived seasons that demanded everything from you. And now you are allowed to choose peace over speed, meaning over noise, depth over display. This isn't giving up, it's growing wiser. Slowing down doesn't mean your life is ending, it means you're finally listening to your body, your intuition, your need for simplicity. It means you're choosing a life that fits who you are now, not who you were expected to be. And there is a quiet joy in that, a steady joy, one that doesn't shout, but stays. If there's one piece of advice I can offer from this side of life, it's this. Stop measuring your worth by how fast you move. Measure it by how present you are, by how gently you treat yourself, by how much peace you allow into your days. You've earned the right to slow down, to choose less, to choose clarity. And in doing so, you may discover that life, when lived at your own pace, has never felt more meaningful. For a long time, I didn't understand why life felt so heavy. On the outside, everything looked fine. I had responsibilities, routines, people who depended on me. But inside, there was a constant sense of pressure, as if I were late to something important and didn't know where I was supposed to be. Everywhere I turned, there were reminders of how fast the world was moving. Younger people racing ahead, new ideas replacing old ones overnight, success measured in speed, visibility, and endless productivity. And without realizing it, I started measuring myself against timelines that were never meant for me. I told myself I should be further along, I should be more energetic, I should be keeping up. That word, should, followed me everywhere. It stole the joy from my mornings and the peace from my evenings. I was living in comparison, quietly judging my own life through someone else's lens. It took me years to understand this simple truth. Every season has its own pace. Spring rushes forward, summer expands, autumn slows, winter rests. And yet we expect ourselves to live in constant spring, always growing, always pushing, always starting something new. One day, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, there was no breakdown, no big decision, just a moment of clarity. I was sitting at the kitchen table early in the morning, watching the light move across the floor. No phone, no noise, just quiet. And I realized I didn't want to live fast anymore. I wanted to live true. That was when I stopped measuring my life against anyone else's timeline. I let younger people rush. That was their season, their energy, their momentum, their hunger to prove something. I had lived that season already, and I didn't need to return to it just to feel relevant. There is a deep dignity in knowing which season you are in and honoring it instead of fighting it. I began choosing mornings that started quietly. No news, no scrolling, just coffee, breath, and a few minutes of stillness. Those mornings changed everything. They reminded me that peace isn't something you earn after a productive day. It's something you protect from the very beginning. I started choosing conversations that mattered. I let go of small talk that drained me. I listened more. I spoke more honestly. I allowed silence to exist without rushing to fill it. And in those quieter exchanges, I felt more connected to others and to myself. Then came the hardest lesson, choosing less. Less commitments, less noise, less proving. But what I chose was better. Better rest, better focus, better meaning. The world tells us that slowing down is quitting, that stepping back means giving up. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Stillness is not quitting, it's arriving. Arriving in your own life, arriving in your own body, arriving at a place where you no longer need to chase validation or keep up appearances. If you're exhausted by modern life, let me offer you this advice, not as a solution, but as a permission. You are allowed to move at the pace of your own wisdom. You are allowed to choose depth over speed. You are allowed to rest without guilt. Life doesn't ask us to run forever. It asks to listen. And if you listen closely enough, you may discover that peace has been waiting patiently, not at the finish line, but right where you are willing to stop and breathe. For a long time, I believed I had to keep up with everyone around me, not because I wanted what they had, but because I was afraid of what it meant if I didn't. I watched people my age achieve new milestones, reinvent themselves, retire early, or stay endlessly busy. And even though my own life was full in many ways, I carried a quiet sense of falling behind, as if there were an invisible clock ticking somewhere, reminding me that I should be doing more. So I kept moving. I filled my days. I stayed productive. I told myself this was just how life worked. But inside, I was exhausted in a way I couldn't explain. Not the kind of tired a good night's sleep could fix, but a deeper fatigue that comes from living out of sync with yourself. I was doing everything right, yet something felt off. I wasn't unhappy exactly, just disconnected. One afternoon, I found myself sitting alone in my car after running errands. The engine was off, the radio was silent, I had nowhere urgent to be, and instead of starting the car, I just sat there, watching people pass by, watching the light shift, breathing. It sounds insignificant, but that moment changed me. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing anything. And a thought surfaced, quietly but clearly, what if this part of life isn't about keeping up anymore? As we get older, something subtle begins to change. Our bodies slow a little, our priorities soften. The noise that once motivated us starts to feel heavy. And yet, we often resist this shift. We tell ourselves we should be the same as before, just as fast, just as driven, just as hungry for what's next. But life isn't asking that of us anymore. This season isn't about chasing, it's about noticing. Noticing the way your coffee tastes in the morning, noticing how your body feels when you stop rushing, noticing the quiet moments you used to overlook because you were too busy getting somewhere else. I didn't stop running all at once. At first, I slowed down only slightly. I stopped overscheduling my days. I let conversations take longer. I allowed myself to say no without explanation. And with each small change, something unexpected happened. I began to feel more present, more myself. I realized how much of my life had been lived in anticipation, always looking ahead, always preparing for the next chapter. But chapters don't begin somewhere else. They begin right where you are, when you finally arrive fully in your own life. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop comparing your timeline to others, when you accept that your path doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. When you understand that success at this stage looks less like achievement and more like alignment. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need to rush to stay relevant. You don't need to keep up with a world that doesn't pause. What you need, what we all need, is permission to live at a pace that feels true to who we are now, not who we used to be. I've learned that slowing down doesn't shrink your life, it expands it. When you stop running, you begin to see what was always there, the beauty in ordinary days, the comfort of familiar routines, the quiet joy of simply being present. And here's the most important thing I've come to understand. The moment you stopped running, you realized you were never behind. You were just early for this version of yourself. The one who values peace over pressure, depth over speed, meaning over motion. So if you're feeling tired today, let that be your signal, not to push harder, but to listen, to notice, to appreciate, to live in a way that honors the person you are becoming. Life isn't asking you to catch up, it's inviting you to finally arrive. If this message spoke to you, if something in your chest quietly nodded along, please know this first. You are not alone. For a long time, I thought I was the only one feeling this way, tired but unable to explain why, grateful for life yet longing for something gentler. I kept going, doing what was expected, telling myself this was just how adulthood felt. But somewhere between responsibilities and routines, I realized I was living on autopilot, moving through days without truly being in them. It wasn't one big moment that changed me. It was a series of small choices, choosing to sit a little longer in silence, choosing to let go of the pressure to keep up, choosing rest over proving, presence over performance. Slowly, almost quietly, life began to soften. Many of us reach this place, especially in midlife, where we no longer want more noise, more speed, or more achievement. What we want is peace. We want mornings that don't rush us, conversations that feel real, a life that fits who we are now, not who we used to be. If you're here, listening, it tells me something about you. It tells me you're choosing a softer life, one moment at a time, and that choice matters. So stay here. Slow down with us. This is Simple Earth Studio, a quiet space for honest stories, gentle reflections, and meaningful pauses. If this message resonated, consider subscribing and share your own story in the comments. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.